Well, Anne and Hannah, thank you so much for being here with me on the Entrepreneurial Success Podcast. I am truly thrilled to have you. And I know that, like they say, the third time is the lucky charm. And hopefully with this recording, we'll definitely make it. I know the audience wouldn't even know what we're talking about here, but just to give you a little bit of background, we've been struggling to make this recording happen. And when we did make it happen, obviously we had a bit of trouble with the technology. So we're finally hoping that we can now record this for you and give you some great golden nuggets that you can take away. But before we get started, I think I'm going to hand over to Ann first. So Ann, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Well, Henriette, first I just want to say what a privilege it is to be here and to see you again and to speak with your people, and it's a pleasure. So thank you for the invitation to be here. My name is Ann Visser, and for almost 20 years, I've been helping people to stop spiraling negative thoughts so they can control their thinking to pursue God's purpose for their lives, so they can live with freedom and with confidence and with clarity. And I am a mindset leadership coach. I'm certified John Maxwell trainer, coach, and speaker. I'm with For Better and Forever, which I co-founded with my husband, Mayalis.
Oh my goodness. And then Hannah, you are obviously part of the gang. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you?
For sure. So Mom and I are a mother-daughter team. I became passionate about helping women with their mindset because of my own personal experience, just struggling with some mental health issues when I was quite young. And over the years, I've spent a lot of time investing in my own personal growth, and especially over the last few years, just really seeing how powerful working on my own mindset can be. And so when Mom invited me to come along with her, when she was starting For Better Forever, it was a bit of an easy decision for me. And so for the past few years, we've just been helping women to stop their spiraling negative thoughts. And I'm just really passionate about helping women to thrive. And so I'm also a digital marketer, and I'm a John Maxwell coach, speaker, and trainer. So I help our members and Mom with a lot of the tech stuff in the background. And I also help with some of the training and supporting women in their growth journeys.
And I love the fact that I can have both of you here because you're such a great team together. Like you said, you're a mother and daughter team. You've been doing this for some time now. And I think it's just so inspiring to see how the two of you are working together and how you're making it work, but also the kind of difference that you're doing in order to help other women. And that kind of relates to what we're going to talk about here today. And that's all about your thoughts and how important your thoughts are, because that's really what dictates your life and how it can help you really run the life that you want. So Anne, why don't I hand over to you and you start talking it through us and tell us a little bit about how important our thoughts are and how that kind of helps us run our lives.
Our thoughts change the whole picture of who we are. Our thoughts determine our thoughts to feelings, which leads to action, which then leads to behavior that we are happy with or we're not happy with, depending on how we start with those thoughts. I know that what I do what I do because I've really worked hard on the mindset and worked hard to grow my mindset so that I can have a better marriage. That's how I started, actually, Henriette. My husband and I, we went to the bottom of the barrel when it came to marriage. And I looked at him and I said, I can't do this anymore. And he said, what do you mean you can't do that? And I said, I can't do this marriage like this anymore. And we both recommitted to each other that night and decided we would work on we'd have a personal growth journey to change our mindset regarding who we were, which then helped our marriage and grew our marriage. And because of that, we fell in love again, and we thought we can't keep this to ourselves. We have to help other people to work on their mindset. It's just so powerful. It has impacted the way we work. It's impacted our family. It's impacted our marriage. And so mindset, the way we think, changes our lives.
Yeah. And I think it's so important as well. One of the key factors that you said there, which I do feel is very true, because I've experienced it myself as well, is your thoughts determine your feelings. And I think that is so, so powerful. And for so many ways in examples in my own life. I mean, when I think of something sad or negative, you feel sad, you feel negative. If you think of something happy, then you feel happy. And I mean, it's got such a great connotation. And in particular, for those who are just now experiencing what we're all experiencing in the world, but also for those women who are thinking of starting a business, running a business, it's daunting, it's scary. But if you keep on thinking about how daunting and scary it is to take a leap of faith, to do something different in your life, in your business, then that feeling is not going to help you make a success. So Hannah, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got started? And obviously, I know you said that you got started when your mum also started going and getting certified through John Maxwell. But how have you decided to go into this mindset journey, if I may say it that way? And how did that transform for you?
That's a great question, Henriette. I think it's really been a long time coming. Ever since I was 12, I knew that I wanted to help people. I've been looking for a long time. I've researched a lot of different careers. I looked into counseling so many times. And before I started this, I was looking into equine assisted therapy. And so I've always been looking for a fit for me and how I could serve and help women. And a big part of my journey has been my husband. And when we met, I was struggling a little bit in my life. And so we used to have a lot of conversations where he would just encourage me a lot about, he called them kind of cloudy days. He's like, you need to have more sunny days. You need to have more days where you choose to have good days. And he kept encouraging me. And I borrowed some of his belief in me. And so I began to really press into that. I had been on my own personal growth journey and my own mindset journey for a long time. But I really began to see with him, it was mirrored to me, how much my moods, how much my attitude, how much my mindset affects other people. And I've always wanted to be somebody that would help other people and somebody that would inspire and influence other people in a positive way. And so that really gave me the encouragement and the inspiration to dig a lot deeper. And so by the time Mom and I had that conversation about joining her in her business, I was really ready for that. I was seeing the difference it was making in my own life, just to really dig deep and to be so intentional about how I think and what I think, and about retraining my brain.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that you said that, because I find it as well when you start. Let me rephrase that. I always tell everybody that when you start a business, when you become an entrepreneur, you actually sign up for a lot of self-development. But the one thing they do not teach you, unfortunately, when you sign up to become an entrepreneur, is that the number one thing you need to work on is your mindset. I mean, when I started my business, I went down strategies. I had the shiny object syndrome. I had no clue which direction I was heading in. I was trying everything and just seeing what works for me. But the one thing that I didn't think about, or I didn't know that I have to work on, is the mindset. And that only followed afterwards. So on this journey that I went on as I discovered entrepreneurship, I realized there's this thing called mindset. Maybe I need to tap into that and see what that's all about. And this is one of my favorite topics now. This is why I'm so glad to have you, Anne, and Hannah here with me. Now, Anne, talk to me a little bit more about the mindset, because obviously there are certain ways of how we need to become aware of our thoughts. And I love talking about this as well a little bit, because even though we know that what we think, that's how we feel, and how we feel is how we act, like you said earlier on. But when we understand our thoughts, because you've got the conscious and you've got the subconscious, and the subconscious is that one thing that we're not very sure of always, and that's our kind of little voice in the back of your head. So talk to us a little bit about that.
We think a lot of thoughts in the run of a day, and they slip by, they're slippery, and we miss them, and we don't realize what is truly inside and driving that behavior. And Hannah talked about changing her mindset. You know, thoughts, Dr. Caroline Leaf says thoughts are physical, real physical things, and they occupy mental real estate up here. And moment by moment, every day, we can change the structure of our brain through how we think. And so we actually can choose the thoughts we think. Subconsciously, they're hidden. And so we need to catch those thoughts so that we can know what we're thinking, so that we know what is driving our behavior. Then we can choose to take different action. We can choose those thoughts that we think to have a better outcome. So we control our thoughts. I mean, you have more power than you know. If I could tell a woman anything, I would say you have more power than you know. You know, those thoughts, not all those thoughts are good, and not all those thoughts that we think they're helpful. But we can sort through the negative thinking and then activate our frontal cortex, that brain, that frontal cortex, that part of the brain that helps us to make good decisions, that part of the brain that helps us to make good judgments and helps us to move forward and make choices even though we don't feel good about it, that we can act differently. Can I tell you a story about when the coronavirus first broke out, Henriette?
Yes, absolutely. By all means, love stories.
Well, when the coronavirus broke, we were in Mexico, and we happened to be walking through this beautiful Mexican garden. Now, I want you to hear my husband's thoughts as he was speaking them out and my thoughts, and compare the two. Because as we were walking through this garden, it was the day after the Prime Minister had announced to us Canadians, come home. And I was so full of anxiety. I was thinking, I'm going to get stuck here in Mexico. And I do not want to be stuck in Mexico. But so I was giving my husband evidence as to why he should be afraid too. And so I said to him, have you noticed? People are not using hand sanitizer at the buffet table. And even worse, there are no napkins on the loaves of bread, and people are helping themselves. There's hands all over the bread. Think of the germs. And people are not social distancing, and they're shaking hands. What is happening here? I looked at my husband and I said, why are you not more anxious? Is this your Dutch pragmatism that's causing you not to panic in the midst of a pandemic? And he smiled. And he looked at me and he calmly just gave me the facts. He said, we're here. We're doing everything that we can to protect ourselves. Doesn't this sound like a good Dutchman, Henriette? We're doing everything that we can to protect ourselves. We're using hand sanitizer before and after we eat. We're the first to the buffet table. We're keeping our distance from people. And we've rebooked a flight home. And then he looked at me and he said, we're doing everything we can to stay safe. I'm going to enjoy the next 2 days. Are you with me? You know, that very question popped me out of my amygdala. You know, we call it the emotional brain, and it put me back into my thinking brain. It was like, oh, yes, these are the facts. His thoughts were so very different than my thoughts regarding our circumstance in the crisis. So we get to choose the thoughts we think. And as soon as he said that, I started to make better choices about the thoughts I was thinking, because I know these things. I have more power. I have the power to control my thoughts and my mind.
Yeah. It is so funny actually telling that story. I actually think that's something my husband would say as well. So he would be the one keeping me calm the whole time. Now, I really like that, because I always talk about the fact that there are two ways that you talk. The first thing is the one that you say out loud when you talk to people. And that kind of, you know, is what's happening in the back of your mind. Like you just explained with your story, you're like telling him and trying to give him evidence of the situation. But then there's also another conversation you're having in your subconscious, which is the conversation you're having with yourself. And I think this one is the one that people don't pick up on a lot. That is that conversation about, I'm not enough. The conversation about, I can't do this. Anything that is just that ego really telling you that, no, you need to play safe. You need to play safe. You know, don't go and, you know, do things that you're not quite sure of. Where actually those kind of, those subconscious conversations you're having with yourself inside, those are the tricky ones to catch. So Hannah, I don't know if you've got any tips for the audience about those kind of conversations, and if we can dig into that a little bit.
That is such a great question. And in entrepreneurship, Mom and I have conversations all the time about our mindset. And when we're speaking together, sometimes we catch ourselves. She won't even be aware of what she's saying, or I won't be aware of what I'm saying until she says, "Did you realize you just said this to me?" Actually, one helpful tool that we have for your audience that we'd like to share today is a journal that we have. It's really simple, but it has 5 powerful questions. And so it will help them to catch those thoughts, to capture them, and to begin to learn to identify them, and then to control them, and then retrain their brain. So this would really be the tool that we would want to encourage your audience to begin using, whether you're using it to be aware of what is your mindset in business. Like, there's so many areas in business that in entrepreneurship that you need to work on. Like, one of the mindsets I've been working on a lot lately is my mindset around sales. Mindset around sales, mindset around money, because let's be honest, if we're not making money in our business, we don't have a business, we have a hobby. And we want to be around in 5 or 10 years so that we can continue to make a positive impact. So this simple tool, the 5 powerful questions simply are: what are you thinking? What are you feeling? What do you want? What advice would you give to a friend? And what's one step you can take to create the outcome you want? Now, I know I ran through that really fast, but we're going to go back and dive a little bit deeper into each of those questions. We would love to do that with you, Henriette, just to explain a little bit about why each of those questions is so important.
Yeah, no, please, by all means, I'd love to, because I think it's really important to go through that and also explain to the audience. So when they do go and get that tool from you, it's not something where they're just going to go look at the questions and go, I have no idea what I'm supposed to write here.
Yeah. One of the things we'd like to say is it doesn't need to take a long time, like 5 or 10 minutes. It can be a really quick exercise. Mom, do you want to share a little bit more?
Sure. I want to start with that first question. It's important. What are you thinking is the first question. What are you thinking? Often those slippery thoughts, we don't take the time to define. This is what I'm thinking. And when I realized that my thought was, if I take you back to the previous story, we're going to get stuck in Mexico. That was what I was thinking. And everything else that followed came under that thought. What are you thinking? We're going to get stuck in Mexico. But the next question is, what are you feeling? Now, we know that those feelings are driven by the thought. I was afraid. I was feeling abandoned, and I was feeling stuck. Mm-hmm. Like there was no opportunity to get out of Mexico, which was ridiculous at that time. And even from that perspective and being there, I knew we already had our tickets to come home. But those subconscious thoughts create the feelings that cause such hopelessness, and they cause us then to take action we don't like. The next question is, what do you want? That's such a good question. What do you want? And when we can recognize, we so often don't ask ourselves, what is it that you want? I want to build a business. I want to have a happy family. You know, I did this exercise not long ago and wrote down, what do I want at the top? And then wrote, I think it was like 100 things that I want. And then the coach instructed me to go back, and I was writing things that I want that I didn't have. She instructed me, go back and write down things that you already have that you do want. I recognized there was a whole lot that I wanted that I already had, which is a really good thing. It just filled me with gratitude.
Yeah.
It's important to know what we want. We don't always get what we want, but we can't work toward it. We can't take any effort toward it or any action toward it if we don't know what it is that we want. And in our case, I wanted to get home together to see my family. The next question, what advice would you give to a friend? I love that question. You want to take that one, Hannah?
For sure. We like this question because, again, this is another question that takes you out of that emotional brain, and it helps you to think about how you would talk to somebody else, because often we're kinder to other people than we are to ourselves. Some of the things that I say to myself, like the discouraging things, those automatic thoughts that I say, oh, I'm not smart enough, or, oh, I'm no good at sales, or oh, I'm never going to get, like, I would never say that to a friend. You're never going to get this. You're never going to succeed in your business. Like, who's going to say that to a friend? Hopefully we wouldn't. So that helps us then to put ourselves almost in somebody else's shoes and learn how to talk kinder to ourselves, to become our best cheerleader, really, because I spend the most time with me. And then the last question is, what's one step you can take to create the outcome you want? So there's been a progression through these questions that we have. So you need to start by becoming aware of your thoughts and your feelings so that then you can move into what you want and move towards the outcome that you want. Yeah. Because we want to take practical action, practical steps, because it's really that movement and that action that helps us to move out of those automatic negative thoughts and to move out of those feelings and move ourselves into how we want to feel and how we want to think and by our actions. So that last step of taking action is really, really important.
Oh my gosh, I wish I had this tool when I started my business, because at the end of the day, it is something that I think can be so helpful, but also so powerful. And Hannah, I have to say, there's this one thing that you said that absolutely stood out for me, because I've been in this very same situation where you go like, I can't do sales. I was in the exact same position. And I think I'm still learning. I'm still getting better at it. But when I used to work in corporate, just to share the story quickly, I worked in the interior design industry, and they wanted me to go into a little bit of sales, trying to be a salesperson. And I just couldn't do it. I just didn't feel like comfortable being a salesperson. I could do everything else they gave me, but being a salesperson, that just wasn't quite my strength. And because of that, because I was being so pushed to try and go in that direction, it just didn't work for me. So the feedback that came back was like, you're not cut out for this. You're not cut out for selling. You're not good at it. Maybe you should go and try something else. And all of that feedback that I got made me feel, very strong word there, made me feel like I'm not good enough to be a salesperson. So with those kind of feelings and that kind of feedback that I had in the corporate world, when I started my own business, what is the number one thing that popped up? I'm not good at selling. So I was really struggling to try and sell my services, my products online. It was one of the biggest things that I struggled with. And that's when I realized that those stories, that feedback that I got, that I'm not good at selling then, was only because of the industry. But I am good at selling. I just didn't recognize it because I kept on telling those stories myself over and over again. So I think at that point, if I had your tool, I might have quickly gone out of that process of where I recognize what I'm telling myself. And I would have been much further ahead now with the development, with my mindset on selling in particular. And like I said, it's still a journey that we're going on. It's not something that happens overnight. It's still something that we're working on a daily basis. But I think so many of the people here, the audience can resonate with that, because so many of them could be in the situation now where they're feeling, I can't sell my products or my services. I'm a business owner, but I can't sell. I'm struggling to sell. How come I can't get there to where all these other people are getting? And it's all to do with something externally told you something. You've taken that external environment, that external information, made it your own, and now you're telling yourself that story over and over again. And I think that's why Ann and Hannah are saying what they're saying is so powerful, because your thoughts determine your feelings. Your feelings determine your actions. So in order to swing that around, what positive thoughts can you give yourself in order to create positive feelings and then take those positive actions?
Yeah. Can I add something else in there, Henriette? Talking about sales. So one thing that my sales coach has told us recently that I found really, really helpful. One, we do, as Mom and I have talked about, we need to know what we want. We need to know where we're going. So if we're thinking about business and entrepreneurship, in terms of sales mindset, one of the things that I've been asking myself is, how do I want to see myself as a saleswoman? I thought, well, I want to see myself and I want to believe that, I can sell whatever I want. If it's something that I believe in and it provides a good solution, and that sales are easy for me and that I'm confident. Yeah. Now, I'm not quite there yet, but that's my goal. And so she talked about something called bridge thoughts. She said, when you're coming from a place where you're struggling to sell, or maybe you don't see yourself as that sales are easy or believe that yet, to switch to a thought, a belief that, oh, sales are easy, I'm a great saleswoman, that might be too far. So it's good to come up with bridge thoughts. What is a thought that's a step farther that you can start believing, that you can start to tell yourself? So for an example would be, I've been telling myself, I can learn how to sell anything that I want to sell that I believe in. So it's not quite to that extent of I'm a confident, saleswoman who can sell whatever I want, but I can learn how to do that. So that's a tool that I've been learning recently that I wanted to share with your audience, because I thought that those bridge thoughts might be really helpful for them, especially in this area of sales. We as women sometimes, I think, struggle with this one, and it's so important for entrepreneurship.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that is a great tip. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm going to make a note of that, the breach thought. And I think it's so powerful as well, because it's not something that you feel now you've got to take that big, long jump to kind of pretend to be something, which again, starts with the imposter syndrome. So you've got something else that you've got to think about. But if you have a bridge thought, it just kind of makes it a little bit easier, getting that one step closer to becoming more confident in selling. And obviously having that kind of feeling that I can sell anything, because that's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's just that we never graduate. We're never done with mindset. It doesn't matter who you are. I'm on the call with hundreds of coaches on the John Maxwell calls. There are doctors, like people that I think should be confident. And they're on there saying, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to run a mastermind. And I'm thinking, really? The devil is in the levels. With every step that we go again to learn or to grow, we will find those little voices will creep back in again. And that's why it's important to capture them. Who do you think you are? Well, I'll tell you who I am. I'm going to be 1% better today than I was yesterday. That's who I am today.
Yeah. And I love, there was something else that you used to say. You say that when you talk to yourself, instead of asking yourself the question, you get to say, I get to.
Yes.
Get up in the morning. And I remember that from the previous conversation we had, and that stuck with me as well. So instead of saying, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I'm not good enough to this. And it's like, no. I get to get up in the morning and go and help women. I get to stand up and do this, speak in front of an audience. I get to sell my services and my products. And I just love that. And it kind of stuck with me since our last conversation.
Oh, that's really exciting, Henriette. It's still a Post-it note. It's on my kitchen cupboard so that I remember that I get to.
And it's brilliant. And I find that it's helped me since we had that conversation. So instead of just asking yourself or saying, what am I doing here? Oh my gosh, do I really feel like doing this? It's like, no. I get to do this. This is, and it's so powerful to use that sentence. So I use it all the time now. Oh my gosh. And Hannah, thank you so much to both of you for being here. Like we said, third time's a charm, and I'm so glad we managed to get this through without any errors or without any technology failures. But I just wanted to say to the audience, Ann and Hannah is definitely giving you this tool, making it available. So the link is below in my show notes. You can go and download it. You can use it. Go through those questions that they've asked you there. Give yourself some time, okay? Give yourself some space to go and sit down and answer them. Answer them honestly. You're only doing this for yourself. And I think it's so powerful to have these questions, but to start thinking really deep inside of you, to start listening more to yourself as well, the way you talk to other people and the way you talk to yourself. And then, like Ann and Hannah saying, just listen to your thoughts, change them around to create more positive feelings so you can take those positive actions. That's all it needs. And I know it sounds very easy, but it will take practice. It doesn't happen overnight. So Ann, Hannah, thank you so much to both of you. Are there any last words that you want to say to the audience? Any last tips maybe?
I just want to encourage the audience to continue to grow their mindset and to not be afraid to step into this exercise. It may seem simple. It is powerful. It has helped so many of our women to move forward, to move out of those spiraling negative thoughts, to find the clarity that they were looking for. And it just brings down the anxiety and it gives them a path, a way forward. And so I want to encourage your audience to pick up that freebie and to enjoy that exercise so that they can move forward in a powerful way.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, Ann. Hannah, do you have anything that you would like to add?
I do. As you said, Henriette, that mindset is something that we need to practice. And so I want to encourage your audience to give themselves a lot of grace. So if you're not used to becoming aware of your thoughts, if you're not used to journaling, if you're not used to asking yourself these questions, it's okay if you don't know how to answer this at first. Some of the women we've worked with are so focused on serving and helping other people that they weren't able to answer these questions at first. They're like, well, I don't really know what I want. I don't really know what I'm thinking. But with practice, it comes, and now it comes more automatic for them because they've practiced it. So just give yourself some time and just practice it, and it will come.
Yeah. And I like the fact as well that you're saying that this is more, it's not just the questions, it's a clarity journal. And I think it's important because people do talk about having a journal, writing in your journal. But I think when you first starting a journal, these kind of questions is really going to help you to start off that journal well. And like Anna is saying, it will start getting easier over time. You just got to keep at it. So start changing that mindset, start, getting new neurons to start firing up, creating a pathway that you want, and then obviously live the life that you deserve to have, because nobody else is going to create it for you apart from you. So again, Hannah, and thank you so much to you both for being here. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure we're going to be in touch fairly soon again.
It's a pleasure and an honor, Henriette. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much, Henriette.
Thank you. Take care.